Good morning, everyone. I am Daniel Ratcliffe here with
Rebecca Michael.
And this is Real Empowerment. Today, guys, is a very special episode for us. We have an individual that has truly set an example for not only our state, our city, our country, but the world. Fresh off a trip from Botswana for AIDS relief. A wonderful personality, a wonderful person. I would like to introduce the CEO of the Independent Center, Miss Patricia Yeager. I wish we had the button to...
I know, we really need a clapper.
Yeah, there we go.
We have a whole list of buttons that we want to know.
Sound effects
yes,
you want to make.
Yes.
They don't really want our sound effects as much as we need the artificial ones.
Right. Also, to introduce, alongside of Miss Patricia Yeager, we have, I would say, one of the very important individuals who has really put her life out there as an example for empowerment. We are very happy to have Miss Chade. I always have trouble with your last name. Could you please say your last name? Kronby.
Yay! What? Yes.
All right. So how are you guys doing today?
Great. It's a sunny morning and early, and we're up and at 'em and ready to rock and roll.
Yes.
We're delighted to be here, and thank you for inviting us. And thank you for the nice introduction. Very nice introduction.
We try here. We're grateful to have you guys here.
It is a beautiful day. I mean, we don't normally get beautiful days like this at least when we start off, because usually it's like cold and we're kind of coming out of our very long and wet and
Haley. Is that a word?
Yes.
Okay, we made it.
Winter, spring. So we're grateful for the sunlight, because I really do like the vitamin D.
All about vitamin D.
Yes.
I'm tired of drinking orange juice. Oh, that's vitamin C.
Yeah, that's vitamin C.
My bad.
It has vitamin D too. Right?
All of it.
Does it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You can get it with it added. You can add it.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find some vitamin D orange juice today now. All right. So I think we should just jump right into it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, have at it.
All right. So, man, this is so great, because it's two individuals that I was really looking forward to interviewing, and now they're here, and I don't know where to start. I think we should flip a coin. So I think I'll start with Patricia. So if you could, for our listeners, I know the background and the history. If you could please start with your background, and where did you start in this journey of empowering individuals with disabilities?
Well, I was born in West Virginia, in Huntington, West Virginia, and at the age of 2.5, I lost a good part of my hearing. And at that time, they wanted to put me in a school for the deaf. And my parents did not want that. So we went through a lot of speech therapy, which at that time consisted of memorizing poetry and standing up in a small classroom with a lot of kids who couldn't say their L's, their R's, and W's, me with all my sibilant sounds that I couldn't hear. The T's, the TH's, the SH's, the S's, C's, I couldn't hear them. So I had to learn that. That was the beginning. 12 years getting up in front of people to speak makes it very easy for me to get up and speak. So I started with a master's in rehab counseling, and back in West Virginia. And then at that time, the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act came into being, and I worked in higher ed to make sure that higher education was accessible to people with disabilities. It was a great job, because I got to be creative about how we did classroom accommodations for all sorts of people with disabilities attending college. Okay. From there, I went to work for the mayor of Denver as the director of the Commission on People with Disabilities. Absolutely one of my favorite jobs, because I was an appointee, and I got to go to cabinet meetings and influence some of Denver's development as a very accessible city. From there, I went to California, ran a couple of independent living centers, the state association. California is great, and it also is difficult. So I came home and took a break and did my PhD in rehab administration at UNC in Greeley, and then recruited for this job as the CEO of the Independence Center in Colorado Springs.
Wow.
So that's sort of been my trajectory here, and all along the way, whenever there's a place for me to say, have you thought about doing this to the new airport? Before they designed the new airport, DIA, I suggested to the Stapleton people that the contract for the design of the airport must include a disability access specialist, and they took me up on that, and we have a great airport. Yes. Now that's a very small cog, but that's the way a lot of change occurs when somebody's in the right place at the right time to say, hey, could you consider, and they go for it. That's
So it sounds, just hearing that story, and that's it seems like only half the journey.
No kidding.
So
because the other half.
Correct. And so I want to kind of go back a little bit and find out, where was the point in your life when you knew, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a voice for myself and for others that may not have a voice.
I think in higher education, when I was at the Community College of Allegheny County. That was my first job after getting my master's degree, and I had students who were trying to go to class, and there were barriers in the way, and I got to remove those barriers, and that really made me see that it was enjoyable. You kind of have to be angry, to be in this field. And so I think I've spent my life working through all my anger over anything and everything, and it just it felt good to be able to write something that was wrong, and that's when I knew.
Wow, that's a wonderful thing. We won't call it anger. We'll say being assertive.
Oh, well, I'm good with anger. I'm fine with anger.
Ed Roberts, one of the first leaders of the movement, used to say that, you have to be. It takes anger, and not necessarily in that order to make change. Yeah. And he encouraged people to be angry and stay angry appropriately, but still.
Nice. Wow. So we'll cross. I'm going to kind of switch between the two of you. So, Chade, you are, the position that you hold at the Independence Center right now is.
Oh, I am Patricia's assistant, administrative assistant.
Yes. And could you give us a little background on how you became familiar with the Independence Center and how you were introduced?
Definitely. So back in, I want to say 2013, I'm actually a consumer at the IC back from 2013, and I received services there. And last year, I was scrolling through job listings, and I was like, ooh, administrative assistant to the CEO. I'm like, well, let me just try. Not going to get it, but let me try anyway. And I applied, and here I am a year later.
Amazing. That's a cool story, and there's a lot of details.
I was going to say, she left out a whole bunch of good details.
There's a lot of details, but we'll dig. I will dig. Yeah. And so with the as you were applying for the position, did you know much about the independent living movement and the philosophy behind it?
That is a really good question. I have not been asked that before. I did know about the independent living movement itself. I did know about the IC's philosophy just because I'd been a consumer there for a while. And I think that motivated me to want to apply, specifically because the IC had helped me so much. I had lived homeless for a time, and during that period, I received help from peer support with resources and finding a way to have a place to be. And I think having a disability can make that situation harder, and the IC really helped with the support, because with independent living, it's not about, okay, I'm going to do this for you. It's about, let me empower you and support you so you can do it yourself. Yes. And I think that definitely, I think I'm going off question, but that definitely helped. I know that for me, back in 2013, because I'm on the autism spectrum, and then I have multiple mental health diagnoses as well. So when I started at the Independence Center, I was actually living in assisted living. Okay. And my mom had found you guys, and she was like, hey, why don't you just go down there? I'll take you. Let's see what type of supports they have. And that was my first really good experience with just getting that. Disability doesn't make you less than. Right. And it's okay to need what you need, and moving past that and forward. So
nice. So what was it like walking through those doors the first time after your mom had introduced you to the idea of the Independence Center?
Can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, that's totally fine. So what was it like? What was your experience like? Like just from walking into the doors the first time at the Independence Center?
Gotcha.
Or what were your thoughts before you walked in? Were you nervous? Were you kind of like, yeah, I've been here before. This is just going to be the same old spiel. Somebody behind the desk trying to help me and they know nothing about me. Was it that type of situation?
Yes. Oh, when I literally fought my mom so hard on that. When I was living in assisted living, my health was really bad. And it was just I guess I was always in a crisis.
Sure.
At that point with my mental health. And so I walked in and I'm like, this is waste time. This isn't going to do anything. I'm used to a lot of people that are, oh, let me help you and you need to fix this and you need to change this, versus what it is at the Independence Center, which is, you can do this, and here, let's find the way. And so when I first walked in the doors, I was not expecting anything helpful at all. I was just going to appease my mother at that point.
I understand.
But it was great, because when I walked in there, everyone was just nice. Everyone was friendly. It wasn't like walking in and feeling judged, which is what happens a lot of times, especially when you have invisible disabilities mainly.
Yes.
Then when you walk in, people are like, why are you here? You don't need this. You look fine. So not having that happen was a big thing for me.
Awesome. Yeah. We definitely try our best to make everyone feel like family, because we all are family. And I definitely knew and heard of you before meeting you, and heard nothing but great things about you. At how
I didn't
hard
know that.
Yeah, definitely knew. Yeah. So heard a lot of great things about you. And as far as setting that independent living plan, when they ask you to set that goal, that overarching outcome that you're looking for, was that something different for you? Had you ever thought of, how will I obtain or maintain my independence? And how will I use resources to do that? Had you ever even thought that far into? Had that ever been asked of you to even think about?
No. I know that being in assisted living, a lot of it is, I call it maintenance. It's maintenance of your life. You have what you need, you eat, you have a place of shelter, and that's where it ends. And so to set that goal, I've always been a very goal-oriented person, but at that point in my life, I was not there. It was more existing versus living and looking forward. So when I sat down and I did that plan, I did it with Tim, he's been on the podcast. Tim Ashley. He was my peer support person.
Oh, okay.
Shout out Tim Ashley.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when I actually sat down and did the plan, they're like, okay, so what do you want to do? What are your goals? And I just kind of remember blankly staring. And it was kind of like, wait, can you ask that one more time? I'm not exactly sure where you're going with this. What do you mean? And I think that was important at the time, back in 2013 up until last year. That really made an impact and changed what I could look for in the future, because I had that starting point.
Got you. So that is definitely a wonderful statement, and it just shows the drive that you had to even take the time to want to think about it. And I think that's amazing. And we see many individuals that have never been asked the question of what do you want? How do you want to go about accomplishing your goals, and how do you want to live in the present and in the future? And a lot of individuals with disabilities are never asked that question. It's more so you take what's given and deal with it.
And you accept it.
Right. And be grateful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, here's your level. Be grateful for where it is. And then if you want something more than that, there's some sort of like extraordinary request that's going to, go beyond what fairness looks like, at least in kind of a non-disabled world. And what surprises me a lot about the Independent Center when I first came was that there wasn't like a limit to your request or your limit to your dream of where you want to go. It's let's talk about what you want your life to look like, and then let's explore how we get you there. And it's not let's explore how I can get you there. Right. It's let's go together, let's walk together, and that's where peer support comes in.
Yes.
And really challenging your own thoughts of yourself and your own ability to limit yourself.
Yes.
You're giving me a look.
Because so in this, and I don't think anyone knows this yet. So when I started at the Independent Center working for Patricia, it was a change for me, and it was. I had a lot. I lacked confidence in my ability to do things, even though I could do them.
Sure.
I always had that self-doubt. Yeah. And so through the time that I've been there, I worked with DVR, Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Got it. And I actually, Yvonne was my job coach during the time that I've been working there. Wow. And when you just said that, and that is exactly what she did. I love her to death because she's helped me grow so much. She told me, she challenged me. She's like, why can't you do that? And that is something that you don't get when you're dealing as a person with a disability out in the world. You don't get that question. Right. They say, oh, that's what you can do. Okay, cool, great, works for us. That's easy. And I don't know how many times I went down and had job coaching with her, and I'm just crying, and I'm like, I can't do this. I'm failing. And she's like, explain to me how you're failing. Right. And then how do you fix that? And I can't even, I would not be where I am now if she didn't push me to do that.
Yes.
But it's a loving, supportive, you can do this. And it's empowering versus oppressing.
Yes, exactly.
That is.
Isn't that amazing?
Man, we need the clap button again.
I know.
Right there.
The audience clapping.
Yes.
And, that kind of gives me some goosebumps. I have a sweater on, so you can't see it. But, when I'm thinking about, Patricia's story and where she started as, a child who is losing her hearing and then doing poetry and finding ways, your parents found ways for you to adapt. Right. And my story is very similar to that. When I lost my eye, my parents went through this process of, do we put her in the blind school? Right. Do we put her there? Yeah. And it was a hard conversation to have as I got older, because I lost my eye when I was 18 months old. And so I don't remember any of that. I just remember as I got older, I was different, but I didn't know why I was different and didn't care that I was different. Right. But the exercises that my mom found for me in order to be able to use both hands at the same time, understand depth perception when you have only one eye. So very similar kind of course. In don't institutionalize someone. Really think about how you can provide some sort of support. Yeah. And then it becomes empowering. Then you find your path. So, with Yvonne, she challenged you to consider yourself able-bodied person, capable, competent, without looking at your disability as a limitation.
Exactly. Well, and I think disability, when it's viewed as a limitation, that's the only time it becomes limiting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you accept it, it's a part of you. This is how you are, and you have that self-acceptance.
Right.
Then there's not a limit to what you can do.
Right.
Yeah, there's no limit. Similar story to you, Becca, Patricia. Growing up, I had no idea that I was legally blind. My parents had no idea that I was legally blind, and they held me to the same standard of my siblings and everyone else around. It was like, okay, you can't see that well, so run your hand across the dish after you're done to make sure it's clean. It was very much so, your vision loss may be a reason, but it will not be an excuse. And I had to live by that. So that is, I definitely can feel you guys when you speak of that empowerment. Patricia, for our listeners that may not know, could you just briefly go through the history of the independent living movement, of where it started, where it began, and how it evolved over time to get to where we are today?
Well, I'm going to start with the civil rights movement. There were things that were happening before that. The WPA works that was in the 40s. There were people with disabilities protesting to get into that works program. But really, what I know of the history really starts with the civil rights movement, and that is, of course, when people of color began to demand their civil rights. Yeah. Ed Roberts was a part of that, and Ed was a person who used a wheelchair. He was functionally a quad because of polio, and he was marching in the civil rights marches, and all of a sudden realized, wait a minute, we should be doing this ourselves for people with disabilities. And that began in the 70s. People around the country finally started getting it that we had to come together. We couldn't be people in wheelchairs fighting and people who were blind fighting over here, and we had to all come together so that, because we shared a common thing, and that was the stigma and the lack of expectations, regardless of what the physical or mental situation was. Once we got that, we became a pretty powerful force, and there are people who feel that even today that the disability movement is one of the most powerful because we continue to make strides in our rights, and as more people join our ranks, they begin to get what we're trying to do. And the whole notion is the idea of changing the environment. If we change the environment, the built environment, the attitudes that people have environment, the expectations environment, if we change that, we can all participate equally. But prior to the 70s, the idea was, well, you have to fix yourself. It's your responsibility. It's your family's responsibility. This is the best you can hope for. So when we came together and realized it was the environment, the built and the attitude environment, then we could work together to change that. And what I saw was that if you do the built environment first, people come. So at every university, college I've been to, they would say, well, we don't have anybody in a wheelchair here. And I'm like, well, duh.
Right.
It's not accessible.
It's not accessible. And so when they did make it accessible, then professors were in my office saying, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to, I had one professor at Metro State, a accounting professor, who was furious because he had a deaf man in his accounting class, and everybody was looking at the interpreter instead of him. And so it took him a while to get over that. And we became great friends after that, but I do remember he just was furious that he was having to share the stage with an interpreter. So you got to build the access, and then people come, and then the building owner, the program, the whatever, gets to learn how to support that person with a disability.
Right.
Nice.
And that's what I've observed. So, we started with, I like to say we started with white men in wheelchairs, and then we went to women, and then we went to people, the blind folks came in, the deaf folks sort of still are not, they don't consider themselves having a disability. They just want people to give them their rights. And it's not, that's sort of an unfair characterization, but they don't really see themselves as having a disability. Right. And unless you see that and accept it, it's hard to move ahead.
Oh, yes.
We then went in, and I can remember when we had people with developmental disabilities coming in, and some services they could use and some they could not. And then we've had the mental health group was very difficult for the IL movement because we had the same misconceptions about mental health that everyone else did. We didn't know anybody with schizophrenia. And so we had to go through that getting acquainted and figuring out how does this work, and you know, we found out that it wasn't so much different at all.
Right.
But that's sort of the short and sweet history that I could tell you.
I got you. And seeing the evolution, even though I was born in the 80s, I still was able to see the evolution of acceptance amongst our nation for individuals with disabilities, where even amongst just being a kid and seeing individuals that may have to use a wheelchair at a young age, and then everybody's kind of staying away from them, and then up to now where it's like if you see somebody that's using a wheelchair, you're like wanting to lend a helping hand, and you're not afraid to talk to them and allow them to be the human that they are, you know. And I am proud that we have made it that far. We still have a long way to go, but we've done a lot as a community, so that's great.
When I started working in 1979 in this field, 78, 79, there were no curb cuts.
Wow.
No curb cuts.
So how are individuals
Well, I mean, you know, we didn't see anyone who was a quad out.
Oh, okay.
And people who were paraplegic were considered severely disabled. Now, today, we would not say that because the environment has changed.
Yes.
And hand controls are out there. There's lifts on buses. So the environment has changed. And look at all the curb cuts. I mean, you can't build a street in America without putting a curb cut in. Because of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Definitely.
So,
man, that is amazing. Thanks for the ADA.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so, Patricia, as far as your position at the IC, what was the journey to be placed in the position as CEO?
Well, coming from California, where it can be very difficult to get everyone to agree, and you have to have agreement to move forward.
Yes.
I sort of said, you know, I went back to school and said I got to chill out. I did not think I would work at another independent living center because you empower people, and who do they fight with first? Me. And I was kind of done with all that. But I was working on my dissertation in Greeley, and Pat Going approached me to say, would you come down and just look at the IC and give us help, maybe give us some consulting or do something along that line. They were undergoing quite a bit of turmoil at the time, and that's true for every nonprofit and particularly independent living centers. So, so I came down and they were looking. I mean, they would have liked me to consider being the CEO at that point, and I just felt like, no, they look like an ugly person looking for a prom date at the last minute. They were just too desperate, in my view.
Got you.
And so I said no, and then Pat called me and said, would you consult, and we'll come down and we'll pay you and all that. So I said okay, because I was coming to the end of my dissertation. I needed to have a job anyway. So I came down to consult and fell in love with the center because the people were positive. They just didn't have a lot of direction at the time, and a vision particularly. So that I was able to do, and I had really set an intention that I wanted to be in a place where I could be useful, I could be helpful, that the people were fun and willing to work together, and I got paid well. Sure. And all three happened there, which was amazing to me. But I just fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the center. And I could see the prospects. I could see where this could go. And believe me, it has gone way beyond what I thought. Because as you bring in people who are positive and you empower them, and they take off and create better programs, better situations than I would have ever thought. And that's what you hope happens as a leader.
You know, it goes back to when you change the environment.
Yep.
they will come.
Right.
So
Right.
you change the environment in order to get other individuals who are going to empower folks and have different ideas. So essentially changing the environment
Right.
created what you were hoping
Right.
could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like to say I feel that the IC is truly one of many, but one of a kind in its own right. From the first time that I ever even looked at the website, I came all the way from the East Coast to
Oh, yeah, that's right.
to
You did.
come here and work. I was working for the government at the time, making more money, but this is where I felt my purpose should be. This is where my people
Right.
work,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I identify with everybody with a disability as my people. This is my family, and the Independence Center definitely gives the opportunity for you to be a part of that family. To all of our listeners, if you are looking for community and looking for empowerment, you will be held accountable, but
Yes.
this is the place where empowerment begins, truly. The Independence Center.
Yep, I agree.
Chade, so while you were giving us your history, you touched on living with mental health challenges. Are you comfortable with kind of elaborating on what is that like as an individual living with the particular conditions that you do live with, and the pros and cons of that, some of the positive spins you kind of took from the impairment to empower yourself?
Yeah. So I guess I'll list them first so I give it well-rounded.
Okay.
So I have post-traumatic stress disorder, complex, because my first trauma was when I was a child.
Okay.
I also have bipolar and borderline personality disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, commonly known as OCD.
Yep.
And on top of that, I also have the developmental disability, which is autism. And with that, I have a cognitive delay, and I also have sensory processing disorder. All of them kind of complement each other in interesting ways. I'd say mental health is definitely one of the hardest to navigate in the public, and also just at a workplace. It can be difficult. I definitely that was actually, I guess I'll go back a little bit. So when I was in assisted living, it was due to my mental health conditions, not so much my autism.
Gotcha.
And so positives and negatives. One thing I think for me, especially with the PTSD, having that start at such a young age, it helped me develop a level of resilience to my environment. And as I grew up, it did help me have super thick skin when things are not so good.
Yes.
And I definitely think that that's a good thing in the world, but it's hard to not become jaded at the same time. And with the other diagnoses included with that, regulation of moods is really hard. And so I can get super upset really quick for no reason. Or I should say no rational reason, because to me it's a reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can be sad, and then 5 minutes later, I could be crying. I could be happy 10 minutes after that. I think for me right now, the borderline personality disorder, that's one that a lot of people have a lot of stigma with.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know what it involves.
Correct.
And so one of the struggles with that just in life, coupled with the complex PTSD, is disassociation. And so disassociation is when you lose time and you have a level of amnesia. So for like an hour out of the day, you might not know what happened. And part of that is when you're triggered by something. So like when my PTSD is triggered, it triggers my BPD.
Okay.
And I could lose a day, I could lose hours. It presents as people like I'm present, but I'll have no memory of what I've done that day.
Oh, wow.
So that can be really challenging, but at the same time, it helps you learn to adapt.
Sure.
So I write everything down.
Perfect.
I have lists, I have calendars, I have email reminders, phone reminders on multiple devices all synced into one. I never lose track of what I'm doing because even in those disassociated states, I'm always taking notes.
Nice.
If you ever come to my desk, I have like notebooks on notebooks and
Yes.
stickies and everything. And that's part of the reason why. But then at the same time, I'm able to function because I adapted.
Yes.
So in that way, my mental health doesn't impact my life in a negative way because when you have those, you just learn to work around it.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to be creative. Sometimes it can be challenging to find solutions, but always wanting to solve that problem in itself
Yes.
is what makes it, I guess, okay in the long run.
Yes. Yes. And giving yourself that room to have and feel the effects of your mental health and living through it and truly accepting it. This is who I am. This is why I feel this way. And I'm going to be okay in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Let me just go through this.
Exactly.
And then we'll get back to business.
Right? Well, it's one step at a time. And when you
Yes.
talk about the self-acceptance, that's
Yes.
a big part. But also working at the Independence Center, that level of acceptance for every type of disability is there.
Yeah.
So I can come to work and I don't have to worry that if I forgot something that day or I missed an email that I'm going to get fired just because of that.
Right.
Because there is that understanding of how disability in general is. And also it's, I want to quote you, Patricia. It's, you're not going to get shot at Dawn for making a mistake.
Right.
And
Right.
that is really something you don't find in the workplace in general. But at the Independence Center, you have that.
Yes.
And when you're mentioning the accountability, you might make a mistake, but you own it and you solve it and you move forward.
I think that's it's a philosophy of life. I don't understand employers that shoot you at dawn because something didn't go right. Because all of us make mistakes, including me, and it's how you fix it that makes the difference.
Yes.
And people at the center, it's been to me it's commonsensical, but I know at the center a lot of people are just floored. And we have to have a conversation every once in a while about it to remind them that everyone that look, if you're going to make a mistake, and or you're not taking risks, but it's how you fix it that counts. And that's I know that was a big breakthrough for Chade, is to realize she could make a mistake and it would be okay.
That's amazing.
Definitely.
You know what I find is really interesting is in any work environment, there is some grace for like your learning curve, which is it can vary from day one, and then you can't make a mistake on day two moving forward, or there's a 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, whatever that looks like. You're on a probation period, and the problem with labeling it as a probationary period, you almost, whether you're intentional or not, are saying learn it, and by this time, and if you don't, then you could be shot at dawn, essentially.
Right.
But no matter what work environment you're in, you should have the grace to be able to learn. And like you said, it's common sense. It should be common sense, regardless of any employer that you're working with.
Right. We can we're human. We're going to make mistakes.
Right.
Now, if you make the same mistake over and over again, we might
That's
have
a different story. Yes.
But I mean, it's how you fix it that really sets you apart from other people.
It doesn't allow for learning and development and being able to get feedback from someone who you see as a mentor without cowering or going into the corner and crying about it. It's like, this person cares about my development. And if you don't give me the honesty in order for me to develop, then do they really care about my development?
Right.
Or is it just do the job right, only like this, and I don't want to hear about your creative solution?
Yeah.
Well, and we wouldn't be where we are today if that were the attitude.
Right.
Because so much of our work has improved because of everyone else's ideas.
Right.
I mean, I can have an idea or two, and the directors can, but really it's the staff, everybody working together and in a creative environment
Right.
that comes up with new ideas and new approaches and new programs.
Right. Exactly.
I remember coming into the IC my earlier days and just like wondering, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, where is the outline for this particular position? And I would go to my manager and I would say, hey, so like, I read the job description, but it's really leaving a very big opening for me. Am I reading this right? To make this decision to really drive what my position should be like?
Right.
Like, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
This is the guidelines. You work within these guidelines, or if you figure out how to get outside of these guidelines and still empower and impact our community in a positive way, go for it. And it was just like, really? Like,
it's that take pause and like,
right?
Are you
really
sure?
You're really giving me this power, to mold my department or mold my position into what I see it to be and not what you see it to be. Mm-hmm. And the answer was yes. And that was in itself the best experience that I've ever had in the workplace, like the best. And so with that being said, I wanted to touch on what Chade said. For individuals that are listening that may live with a disability, whether visible or invisible, just because you have a disability does not mean you cannot be a successful tax-paying individual in our community. It is very much so possible, and everyone sitting in this room is a true example of that, and you could do the same. With that being said, Patricia and Chade, you can choose who goes first. What would be the message that you would want to present to individuals that may not have yet experienced true empowerment?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. What's the message?
What would be your message?
My
to
message
them?
to them. I would say, regardless of what your disability is, your disability can also be your greatest strength. And for every person or every self-doubt you might have that says, I can't, don't listen to it, because they're wrong. And once you find your way, you may have a certain way you have to do it, but you do it differently. But you can still do what everyone else does.
Yes.
Great message.
I think for me, it's about accepting your disability and learning how to do things differently, but realizing that, you can do, if there are 100 things in life that you have to do to live, and you can only do 98 of them, you can figure out the other 2 and still be just as whole a person as anyone else. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend that people, get up the courage or fake the courage and come in and try it and get support. I mean, find people who do the same things that you're trying to do and see how they do it.
Right.
We're not on this planet alone.
Mm-hmm.
There are people everywhere who can say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I once saw an individual get up in front of city council. This would have been in San Diego, and speak. And the council eventually voted the way he wanted them to vote. He was so blown away because he was scared to stand up and speak. He spoke, and afterwards, I swear, he said to one of our staff, he says, I think I could get a job if I could do this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's what he did.
Wow.
So to me, it's that taking that risk and putting yourself out there and figuring it out, and the joy of that, the pride and the I did that,
right?
Is it's addictive.
Yeah,
keep doing
it. Truly is.
Yes.
It's fun to watch consumers as they accomplish a goal that they were intimidated by or afraid to do, and you've worked with them and talked with them about how they're going to present themselves and what they envision, and when they accomplish it and they come in and they're just so proud of themselves, it's it is contagious, and it's so fun to watch.
Right.
It truly is.
It's a joy sending those letters out. Congratulations, you've completed your goal. It's great.
Yeah, it is great.
But they become so I guess, close to the IC, it's like, no,
I'm not done with you yet.
I got more goals. Wait.
Let me dig up some more. See if I can find some more to do.
That's great.
Yeah, the last thing they want to hear is we're going to close your record because you completed your goals. That's the last thing.
Yeah,
that
that's
they
a
wanna hear.
congratulations, but and
Yes.
those are always fun.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, no, I'm not
Yeah.
ready yet.
Oh man. So I would say that we've had a wonderful conversation with the both of you this morning. I feel that first, let me thank both of you for the job that you do, with Patricia, you being the leader of the Independence Center, truly the leader. I know you give the kudos to the staff.
Yep.
I know you do, but we look up to you for what you have done and the opportunity that you have given us as your staff. And for Chade, being the support of Patricia and the staff.
Yes.
Like you're the backbone, per se. We love the emails.
Yes.
And we love that you come to work every day with a smile, even though we know, and you know that, you may be fighting through it, but you've always maintained, every time that I've talked to you, you've always maintained a positive outlook.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you for
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been a great discussion, and I couldn't do my job without Chade. at
Right.
this point.
Yes.
Right.
She's just been really gotten me organized, and so, which is no small feat. So, so I've benefited from her OCD, if you will, because
Yes.
she's gotten me organized and keeps the board going and keeps
Yes.
keeps all the trains running on time, so to speak. It's been great.
Yeah, I do call Chade one phrase. Do you remember what I call you?
You call me the Patricia Wrangler.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Where's Patricia? She knows. She may not be with, but she's like, and she's in that room, but wait a minute, she'll be back. So, and so whenever you need to know, ask Chade,
Yes.
because she'll either be able to get you on a schedule or let you know to catch Patricia coming from the break room. She's coming right now. Grab her really quick. And so it is a hard feat to be a CEO for an organization, but then to have someone to support you, so that you can do the job that you do, and find that person.
Right.
Can be difficult. So kudos to both of you for being a good, strong team, because you lead us where we need to go, and then also challenge us to go out of our comfort zone. So yeah, thanks to both of you.
It's a joy.
Well, and to add to that, I think that having the team atmosphere, because in all honesty, Patricia is the only supervisor that I could honestly say is a mentor. And when I see what she has done, and I see how she looks at disability and advocacy and just the community in general, that gave me motivation to look at what's my passion, what do I want to do. And I value the feedback that she gives me, because all it's done for me is help me grow as a person. So I feel lucky to be able to even have that opportunity to work with someone like Patricia and to be able to provide that support. So
Yeah, man.
Very cool.
Very cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So do you want to give our listeners the info to find
Sure.
us on the net?
Sure. So if you are interested in the Independence Center and all of the things that we've done, or want to connect with Chade or Patricia, just go to our website, www.theindependencecenter.org. And you can come visit us at our location. It's a pretty awesome building with all the great accessibility features and art on the walls, all that fun stuff.
And really cool people.
Yes, the people make the building. The building doesn't make the people. That is 729 South Tejon here in Colorado Springs. Phone number 719-471-8181. And then if you ask for Patricia, likely you'll just get directed to Chade.
Yep.
So, or you can ask for Chade and have that great conversation with her. And then, anything else you guys want to pass on before we sign off?
Where can our listeners find the podcast?
So our podcast is actually at 2 locations. You can go to Podomatic and search for Empowerment, and Real Empowerment, actually. And then you'll be able to share, follow, get all that great information so that it'll be delivered directly to your mobile device. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, Real Empowerment, and get the accessible podcasts with captions. So yes, go explore it and find us and enjoy the podcast.
Leave comments.
Yes.
Subscribe.
We haven't gotten any comments yet.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, we need more Daniel, that's okay.
What? We need less Daniel and more Red Bull.
Whatever you want to put on there. Give us some feedback. So yes, leave us some comments. Or if you want to just come and check us out, you're welcome to do that too.
Yeah, definitely. I guess with that being said, we can sign off.
Yes.
This has been a great episode. This has been Real Empowerment, and I hope you guys are really empowered.
Yes. Thanks so much. I'm Rebecca Michael.
And I'm Daniel Ratcliffe. Thank you.